March 8th, and Vault7 is out. Wikileaks Vault7 has been released, despite all the crazy speculation. We know what it was. Those of you who said it was some kind of hacking disclosure or CIA disclosure were right, and everybody else was wrong, I guess. Here's the press release. It was actually a pretty good press release. I suggest that you read it. Basically, the summary is this is the first part of a series that they're calling Year Zero, and this one compromises 8,761 documents. And it was taken from the CIA Center for Cyber Intelligence in Langley, Virginia. But then it goes on to say, recently the CIA lost control of the majority of its hacking arsenal, including malware, viruses, trojans, weaponized zero-day exploits, malware remote control systems, and associated documentation. Which basically means the CIA lost its like hacking football, so got out into the wild. Somebody who was out there in the wild leaked it to them, and now they're disclosing it. And publishing the whole thing, so we can see what they're up to. Basically, it seems like the CIA was up to a whole bunch of crazy stuff. They were going into the purview of what the NSA usually does, with a whole bunch of cyber intelligence and analyzing and spying and those sorts of capabilities. The NSA apparently has the capacity to do all of these things, but the CIA did not want to continue to have to be on the losing side of the competition of the cyber warfare system, because that seems to be the future. So they developed this system from their COG program called the Center for Cyber Intelligence, and underneath it doing a whole bunch of analysis and so on and so forth about how to do things on the internet. And they eventually, it seems, that made their own NSA, their own capacity to do whatever they wanted online to anyone they wanted, with a whole bunch of like really smart people writing code and figuring out how to test and hack various devices. Going on to what they call the analysis, I'll just read this part. It says CIA malware targets iPhone, Android, and smart TVs. CIA malware and hacking tools are built by EDG, which is Engineering Development Group in the CIA's COG group, a software development group within CCI, Center for Cyber Intelligence, a department belonging to the CIA's DDI, Directorate of Digital Innovation. The DDI is one of the 5 major directorates of the CIA. See this? We'll look at that in a second. We'll do it now. Basically, at the top here, you got the CIA and a whole bunch of different departments underneath it. Going down this route goes to DDI, Directorate of Digital Intelligence, to the Cyber Intelligence, all the way down to EDG, which is Engineering Development Group, which is where all this stuff is coming from. Although apparently it was mostly written on a website used by contractors rather than directly CIA people. And then those other ones in here. It says the EDG is responsible for the development, testing, and operational support of all backdoors, exploits, malicious payloads, trojans, viruses, and any other kind of malware used by the CIA in its covert operations worldwide. One of the things that is making it into the news, and that WikiLeaks explicitly mentions, which is probably why it's in the news, is the Samsung smart TVs. In here, there's a whole section where they basically talk about how their progress on being able to hack into Samsung smart TVs, and they were successful at doing it to put it in a fake off mode, so that you couldn't see that it was on, but it was still on, and they could record it with the microphones in it. And I read it, and they were working on the camera, but they said they hadn't got that far. Although this is kind of old, so who knows if they had since then. But I'm sure this program's probably shut down by now since it's being divulged. Here's another really we'll go to it so you can see it. And there's another really interesting one that's making speculation on the internet go crazy. But as it says, as of October 2004, the CIA was also looking at infecting the vehicle control systems used by modern cars and trucks. The purpose of such control is not specified, but it would permit the CIA to engage in nearly undetectable assassinations. That's actually pretty interesting. I watched a movie with Pierce Brosnan a few days ago where some crazy hacker in that does the same thing to him, hacks into his computer or his car's computer and turns his brakes on and tries to kill him in a tunnel. I thought that was pretty goofy at the time, but Jesus Christ, it looks like it's actually a real thing. Although Darknet has been talking about that thing for a few years, so it's not all that much of a surprise. Weeping Angel is the code name that they had for getting out those TVs, the smart TVs. Samsung is the one they specifically mentioned, so they're getting way more of the public ire than they should. This is probably going to kill their stock prices, but it's not their fault. They didn't have anything to do with this. This is the TV they were mentioning in these files. They said we got it to work on Samsung. I guess we'll read its accomplishments during joint workshop with MI5 BTSS, which is English intelligence. They found a way to break into people's smart TVs remotely and put it in a fake off mode so it looks like your TV is off, but it's not, and they can listen to you if they want. Now they only talk about how they make this stuff, not really how to get it in and how it's really going to work. So we don't know how they're implying it, but we do know that they have the ability then to get into whatever TV they want for various things. Of course, as I'm sure a lot of people were aware, the CIA's mobile devices branch developed numerous attacks to remotely hack and control popular smartphones. Infected phones can be instructed to send the CIA the user geolocation, audio, and text communications, as well as covertly activate the phone's camera and microphone. That's not too surprising at all. It says, despite iPhone's minority share, 14% of the global market, a specialized unit in the CIA's mobile division branch produces malware to infest, control, and exfiltrate data on iPhones and other Apple products running iOS and such pads. The CIA's arsenals include numerous local and remote zero days developed by the CIA and obtained by GCHQ, NSA, FBI, or purchased from cyber arms contractors such as Big Shot. I actually found their list of where they're getting those things, and a bunch of companies were fish-related, like one called Anglerfish and another like Fangtooth. I haven't looked into it yet, but I'm sure I will. The disproportionate focus on iOS may be explained by the popularity of the iPhone among social, political, and diplomatic and business elites. So basically, the people that you'd want to spy on are focusing on iPhones, and it's true. Looking through all of those files, a good amount of what they were working on that made it through to this leak was Windows stuff. There's a lot of that, but I would say more of it than even Windows stuff is specifically for iPhone cracks. They seem to want to crack and test stuff on iPhone all the time. They also targeted Google Android, and they targeted anybody with a big enough, I guess, market share that they think that they might have to worry about it eventually. They just wrote programs to see if they could break into them, and they seem to usually succeed. This part is, where they're talking about the OS system. So, the CIA also runs a very substantial effort to infect and control Microsoft Windows users with its malware. This includes multiple local and remote weaponized zero days, air-gap jumping viruses such as Hammer Drill, which inject software distributed on CD and DVDs, infectors for removable media such as USBs, systems to hide data and images in covert disk areas, Brutal Kangaroo, and keep its malware infestations going. There's a whole bunch of stuff there. I thought the Brutal Kangaroo thing, I guess I'll click on it, was particularly interesting just because of where it hides it. Basically, it does the same thing that a lot of other things do. It goes in, it starts analyzing data, making copies of itself, but it copies itself on disk space that your computer doesn't usually use or have access to, so it's pretty hard for people to find, apparently. You can pause it if you want to read. I don't want to read up through all of it. It seems they also specialized in network device branch attacks, like DOS attacks and stuff like that. It makes sense that the CIA and NSA, well, not the CIA, but certainly the NSA would want to be working on this because you'd want them to have the capability, should they ever need it, to do it to enemy people out of the country, or to know what other people are doing so that we can analyze and stop it from being done to us. But we don't see any guarantee or concerns at all in this that anybody involved gave one rat's ass and who it was used against. So that is pretty troublesome. Knowing how bad the CIA's reputation is in every other regard, it seems pretty likely that they decided to screw around and probably are using this against everybody, just like the NSA probably is. The people in this programming and software group would go undercover in the consulate in Frankfurt, Germany, and they could then go anywhere they wanted in Europe, basically unfettered and uncontrolled if they had the right kind of credentials. The article itself talks about how usually they would be under deep cover and say they're working for the State Department, but really they're going out and testing things or something to that effect. I guess we'll go to that page because it's pretty interesting. I'll probably do a video on this later because I did think it was so interesting. If you want to read it, I'll probably link it somewhere. They had a huge focus on trying to not get caught by antivirus programs, which in their parlance they call PSPs. So look at that for some more information. They call personal security products, and quite a bit of what they have in this is basically just text writing about little tricks that they learned in order to get around antivirus programs, or PSPs as they call them. Because if you're trying to get into some enemy database or something, Norton Antivirus can detect you're not doing a very good job. And they seem to be pretty consistent about finding ways to get around them. UMBRAGE was partially what I was talking about that the NSA should be doing. the press release itself says, the CIA's handcrafted hijacking technique pose a problem for the agency. Each technique it has created forms a fingerprint that can be used by forensic investigators to attribute multiple different attacks to the same entity. This is analogous to finding the same distinctive knife wound on multiple separate murder victims. The unique wounding style creates suspicion that a single murderer is responsible. As soon as one murder in the set is solved, then the other murders also find likely attribution. The CIA's remote branch, UMBRAGE Group, collects and maintains a substantial library of attack techniques stolen from the malware produced in other states, including the Russian Federation. With UMBRAGE and related projects, the CIA can not only increase its total number of attack types, but also misdirect attribution by leaving behind fingerprints of the groups of the attack techniques were stolen from. UMBRAGE components covers key loggers, password collection, webcam capture, data destruction, persistence, privilege escalation, stealth, and antivirus avoidance, and survey techniques. And what's just interesting about that is that that dude who started McAfee was on RT a few months ago after Trump was elected, just right after he was elected, when the mainstream media started dropping all this stupid Russian nonsense, and he was saying that the evidence presented that he had seen didn't look right because the code was written in Cyrillic, which he said the Russians would never do. They wouldn't make it so obvious that somebody who was Russian wrote it because of this UMBRAGE thing, which obviously it goes deeper than just the CIA. This is the CIA's version, but the NSA has one too. And this is something they probably should be doing to learn what other people are doing and to also learn how to do forensics correctly to look at who they are. But once again, we have no insurance that this is not being used against the American people to make it look like Russia is hacking, which is exactly what that McAfee guy said was going on. It's not really important. Redactions, they redacted a whole bunch of people's names. They're actually starting to keep a log file on those names, because they did seem to attribute them on a case-by-case basis, so you can glean a kind of a story if you track their identities, but there's a lot of them and they're kind of mundane, so it's not easy to do. But they're saying they did it because they didn't want to actually get anybody who's working for these people in any specific trouble. They don't want to cause them to die or something if they're under deep cover, so they're keeping them hidden, but no, still giving us the information. We looked at the organizational chart. That was pretty cool. The time cover, this is important. It says the years 2013 to 2016. The sort of order of pages within each level is determined by date, oldest first. WikiLeaks has obtained the CIA's creation last modification date to each page, but these do not appear for technical reasons. Usually the date can be discerned and approximated for content and page order. If it's critical to know the exact time date, contact WikiLeaks. The time that it goes back. Interestingly enough, what this really is, it's kind of like a Wikipedia-style website that the CIA contractors used in order to talk to each other and work together in order to make this malware and figure out all the stuff they were doing. So it's actually kind of weird when you look at it. You see kind of a Wikipedia format with different versions going back in time, but usually they're not very different. But that's what it is. It's basically a partial image of some of the pages on this website that the CIA was using to make all this stuff. Vault7 is a substantial collection of material about CIA activities obtained by WikiLeaks. It said, that's not too important. It says that there's possibly more of them, but it doesn't give you much information, but that seems like it's a pretty big hint. And coupled with what they said earlier at the beginning of this press release, as this was just the first of many, then it suggests this is the first of many. I don't know how juicy this is going to be, because even though there's 7,000 somewhat documents, most of them seem to be completely empty. If you go through it, this is empty, this is empty. A good portion of them as well seem to be that directory thing I was talking about earlier, so I haven't counted or anything, but I'm guessing it's something like 3,000 documents, which is still quite a bit, but that actually have juice in them. But it seems the best stuff is coming from the PDF files, and I haven't gone through any of those yet, except for one or two here or there, so it'll take a while to get through them, but it'll definitely be worth it. Thanks for watching.